So 'tis the season for tobacco fragrances, right guys? We're really getting into that weather now. It's officially winter time, and this is the time of year that I look forward to for the fragrances, and that's about it. I hate winter. I hate the cold. It's very demotivating or unmotivating to me, whatever word is proper there. I just don't feel motivated to do much of anything in the winter time. It's cold, it gets dark at 3 o'clock. I just don't like it. But I do really like the fragrances that are usually associated with wintertime, and tobacco fragrances are some of my favorites. And today is all about tobacco fragrances. Now, I've done videos on like my top 10 favorite or best tobacco fragrances before, but I'm kind of bringing back a different spin on the buying guide series. So a buying guide is where I take a fragrance line, let's say Le Male, and I go through each Le Male flanker, and I just basically break each one down, and then at the end kind of give you my personal advice on which ones I like the best and which ones I think you should buy. And so it kind of acts as a buying guide to help you dive into a line that has a ton of flankers. And I'm doing a similar thing now, but in a different way. Instead of focusing on one brand, I'm focusing on a certain type. So, a buying guide on blue fragrances or a buying guide on boozy fragrances. I've already done these videos. And so now I'm going to be doing a buying guide on tobacco fragrances, but they're going to be ranked by performance. So starting off at number 10 is going to be the weakest, all the way up to number 1, which is going to be the strongest. Because I know a lot of you guys do prioritize performance. Nothing wrong with that. I myself also really like a strong performer, especially in wintertime. And so if I were to just list off a bunch of tobacco fragrances, it might be helpful to you, but we're going to rank them by performance. So that way, if you want the strongest thing possible, that's going to be kind of the best chance for you to get that. So I will provide links to these down below. I get all these through discounters, and you can always pretty much get fragrances through discounters and save money off of the retail price. I'm posting deals on my community tab as well. I've got giveaways running over there every month, and I have a mailing list you can sign up to get those deals to your email so you don't miss out. And one more thing, 2 disclaimers, one of which being I'm only talking about current in production fragrances that you can buy. So if you're wondering where your favorite tobacco scent is in here that's not here, it could be because it's discontinued. And that leads me to the next point. If you're wondering where this or that fragrance is, there's a difference between having a fragrance that has tobacco in it and it being a tobacco fragrance. So we're talking about fragrances where the primary note and focus is the tobacco accord, not scents that have just a little bit in there here and there. These are all tobacco heavy. So at number 10, this is by far the weakest, and it's really not even close. It's unfortunate because it's actually one of my favorite designer fragrances ever. It's Dolce & Gabbana The One. How sad. Usually when I'm ranking this in videos, it's always at the top because I love it, but it just can't win that battle here with performance. If you're wondering why this bottle looks weird, that's because it's about empty. Like I said, I love it. I wear it all the time, and I've worn more than this. I have other bottles as well that are a bit older, different batches, and some newer batches that I've worn out of. So all in all, I've completed more than a full 100 ml bottle of this stuff. So this does have tobacco. It's got amber, a little bit of cardamom in here. This is a very designer level tobacco. It's not too earthy. It's not too smoky and overly strong. I mean, this is something you could wear anywhere, anytime, realistically, in the cooler months, that is. It's great for dates. It's great for evenings out. You're not really going to offend anyone with this, and you can't always say that about a lot of tobacco fragrances, which we'll soon get into, but this one, very wearable, but the performance is just not that good. Now, that being said, I always bring this up, but I use this exclusively as an evening scent where I don't need a lot of performance, and I would encourage you to do the same if you are to pick this one up. Try not to get too hung up on the lack of performance. Just use it to your benefit. Wear it on dates and situations where you don't need a ton of performance. Sometimes it isn't always necessary. Okay, at number 9, believe it or not, this is one of the weaker ones as well. This one gets a good amount of hype when you hear fragrances talked about from the brand and more specifically from this line of fragrances, which basically makes up the entire brand. It's one of the more hyped up ones, but it doesn't do so well performance-wise. It's Replica Jazz Club. So this one, I think they have the notes on the front. Maybe not, but it's got tobacco, it's got rum or kind of a boozy accord in here. Smells really, really pleasant, and the name, the description, the time period, all of that stuff is really quite accurate. And when you smell this one, you can kind of think of these things, heaty cocktails and cigars, memory and a fragrance, Brooklyn 2013. I mean, that doesn't mean much to me. I don't know what that area and time would smell like, but you know, it just kind of invokes a certain feeling for you, and it does smell nice, but the performance does lack. That being said, it does focus a lot on the tobacco, and this one will kind of ramp it up a little bit compared to the Dolce & Gabbana in terms of the you know, strength of the tobacco and the type that it's used, but still it's very wearable. This one actually has surprisingly good performance. So going into it, I thought Jazz Club was going to be one of the better performers. Ended up not being. And when I was picking this one up here, I thought this was going to be about one of the worst performers, but actually not so much the case. I mean, still it's at number 8, but compared to the competition it's going up against and the price point that this one comes in at, I really can't complain. It's Robert Graham Fortitude. So, you know, this line was really weird because you know, people were talking about it being discontinued, but it's always been in stock on the retail website, $90, $95. But you can get this one on discounters for like $58. That's a steal for this stuff. It's got tobacco, tonka bean, patchouli. It's really all about the tobacco, though. It's all you need to know. Real nice, rich, kind of strong, heavy tobacco accord. Nice and smoky. You are getting some sweetness from this one. I mean, this is something I could smell all day long. It's a really, really nice interpretation of that note, and it's very wearable. You know, this is one that you can pull off for about any situation. You're not going to be in over your head with this. And with Dolce & Gabbana The One, I kind of forgot to go over this, but that one usually is around 6 hours. Jazz Club around 6.5 to 7. Robert Graham, I actually get about 8 hours out of that one. So now going up to what is number 7. This one's kind of crazy. You hear that, you know what it is. Because generally in my lists, you know, when I'm talking designers, this is one of the stronger fragrances. But when we're going up against these heavy hitters, it's at number 7. That's really crazy. It really puts it into perspective on just how strong some things are. Spicebomb Extreme. It's got vanilla, tobacco, black pepper. It's really all you need to know. Some kind of a cinnamon accord in here as well. Even though officially, I don't even know if they list it off. But you do get the peppery spiciness, of course, very much Spicebomb DNA. But the tobacco is what it's all about, mixing with that vanilla. It's one of my favorites. It's a great holiday scent. It's great for Christmas, great for New Year's, even Thanksgiving. I just really like it. Very festive smelling scent. And for me, usually around 9 to 10 hours longevity, sometimes quite a bit more. It just depends. You know, I've gotten more out of it, but also when you wear it in the cold, and it's really cold and you're spending a lot of time outdoors, that performance will be less. So it really does depend, but on a consistent basis, somewhere around in there. And in terms of performance with this one, it's quite a big jump, around 11, sometimes 12 hours. So we're going from lesser to now this, and this is only at number 7. You guys are in for a wild ride. Okay, number 6, we have Serge Lutens Chergui. So this one has tobacco, of course, to a very heavy extent here. We've got some honey. We have a little bit of amber in here as well. So kind of a sweetness, a sticky sweetness with a little bit of like a dusty, powdery variety of sweetness as well from the tonka bean. Man, smells really, really, really festive as well. There's a cinnamon accord in here. Really like it a lot. I believe this also has some weird note like hay. Could be wrong, but I think it does. Ultimately, this stuff is a stunner. It's gorgeous. I mean, look at the juice of this. I said this before, but juice color doesn't mean anything. Like, this is dye, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, there are some beast mode 14 plus hour scents out there that are perfectly clear. So it doesn't actually make a difference performance wise like you may think. However, there's nothing more satisfying than that. I don't know. I just love it. You know, you look like black Afghano. It's just black liquid. I love that. You know, just makes it look like it has so much power and strength, even though, again, it doesn't matter. Great tobacco scent. This one is, you know, a little bit more affordable as far as, you know, kind of fragrances in this category go, in terms of this is going to be more challenging and more niche-like, you know, compared to Dolce & Gabbana The One or something, and it really doesn't go for too terribly much on discounters. Now, you know, we're getting to the point where performance starts to get crazy. You can only measure so much, and I'm not so dedicated that I'm going to wear something for and stay up for 16, 18 hours to test it 20 hours, right? This one is 12, right around in there on a consistent basis. Sometimes I'll get a bit less and sometimes maybe a little bit more, but on a consistent level, right around there. Not too far off, honestly, from Spicebomb Extreme. It's going to get to a point at number 5 to 1 where we're going to be splitting hairs, and we'll talk about that now. At number 5, we have Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille. So, for some people, this would probably be like number 1 or 2. But that's never been the case for me, and it's really quite sad because when you look at Fragrantica, when you look at all the places, this is like, powerhouse. But, I guess it has been reformulated over the years. I can't attest to that personally, being that I don't have any vintage bottles or anything. This is all I have, and I'm not even seeing a batch code on it. Usually it has like A something on there. Not seeing that right now. But, it's just never been overly strong. That being said, smells beautiful. It's got tobacco, it's got vanilla, it's got dried fruits. This smells like a Christmas tree. Another one that's very festive, perfect for this time of year, the holiday season. And usually, even though, this is still a strong scent, I don't think it lives up to what other people get, but I do get around that 12-hour mark. And like I said, going forward, we're going to be splitting hairs. Some of these are going to be, maybe stronger, but I can only go to so much on my skin before I just give up and I can't record any farther. But really, going forward, if all you care about is performance, any of these top 5 will do it for you. So at number 4, also doing very well, Carolina Herrera Mystery Tobacco. Now this one here is kind of a unique twist because I get a little bit of like a red tobacco smell, a little bit of a kind of a Parfums de Marly Carlisle smell, and almost like even a Herod smell. It's very bizarre. It's kind of a mashup of some of your big tobacco fragrances combined into one, and I really like it though. It really kind of, even though it alludes to some other things, it kind of brings something a little bit different to the table. It's one that I find myself wearing. In addition to the tobacco, it's got some patchouli, some tonka bean, kind of an earthiness, some sweetness in here for sure. Nice magnetic cap on the presentation. Very nice presentation overall. Now this one, for me, usually 13 and a half hours, somewhere around in there. More than strong enough. And speaking of Parfums de Marly Herod, at number 3, we have Parfums de Marly Herod. So I actually just wore this one the other night. And this was even before or after, actually, I finalized the video. So I already knew kind of where this one was going to fall just from testing it and wearing it so much. The other night I was wearing it, just was in the mood for it. And it lived up to my performance benchmarks, so much so that the next morning I could still smell it. So again, guys, these are just getting crazy strong. Putting a real number on it, anything past what I'm going to put on these is kind of pointless because you really don't need them to be much stronger, but, it is what it is. Definitely can't complain. You're paying a little bit of a premium for, some of these here in the top 5, but it's worth it if you want quality and performance. This one has, obviously, a bunch of tobacco. There's going to be kind of a sweet vanillic undertone in here as well, some tonka bean. It's all very standard, these note breakdowns. They're going to run together. There's nothing new about any of these really. But performance-wise, 13 and a half, sometimes 14 hours. It's a complete unhinged beast mode scent on my skin, both in projection and longevity. Okay, this number 2 is also very, very strong. I mean, it's just, we're getting to crazy stuff here. Kilian Black to Back. Oh, great. Completely messed that up. By Kilian, Back to Black. Okay, there we go. Black to back to black. I guess it doesn't matter. Kilian Paris, by Kilian, whatever you want to call it. Sharp looking bottle. Kind of has, instead of a silver plaque, it's got this gunmetal plaque and cap. Now this has cherry. It's got honey. There is a boozy accord in here, I believe, which is not unsurprising to know that because Kilian is, kind of known for the boozy fragrances. It's not surprising. And also, of course, tobacco. Now this tobacco, it's a little bit different. It's kind of earthy, very strong, very smoky, kind of a leafy, earthy tobacco, which is a little bit different, but still very much a tobacco heavy scent. I mean, I remember I first tried this one from a sample and it was so strong that I couldn't believe it. I got a bottle of it and it's still incredibly strong. 14 and a half hours. We're getting to the point of ridiculousness here. These are just getting so crazy that it's mind-blowing. If you want performance, again, any of these top 5 will do, but it's just crazy. I mean, guys, it really is something. We're talking fragrances that last on your skin for that long, and you could even get these wet and they still will last. Like, I've tested these on my hand before, and I wash my hands throughout the day, just normal washing. I don't sit there and scrub it on the top of my hand, but I'll just normally wash my hands like I do, and the top does get soaked and it does get wet, and they're still there this time frame later. We're talking about crazy stuff. Number 1, no surprise, and actually going to be the most affordable niche in this list, Mancera Red Tobacco. It's got the tobacco, has some vanilla, it has some oud in here, a little bit different. There is some patchouli. The oud is not too strong. However, I will warn you, there is a little bit of a medicinal quality to this. From that of the oud, it's a Mancera oud, and typically Mancera ouds will have a medicinal quality to them, so be warned. However, again, it's not too bad, and chances are if you're buying something like this, you're going to be able to handle it. And if you can't handle the little bit of a medicinal quality, then you're just not going to like the scent in general, because it's so strong in terms of projection and longevity that you got to be prepared for this stuff. 14 plus is all I have record of. Anything beyond that, which it will hit, is beyond me. I've woken up the next day smelling this one several times. It's lasted through showers. It's lasted through multiple hand washings in a day if I were to be wearing it on my hand. The stuff is crazy. And again, you can get this well under $100 at most discounters. That is some of the best bang for your buck to performance ratio that I've ever seen. Best tobacco fragrances based on performance. Beast mode scents. If you guys are after beast mode, you've come to the right video. I will provide links to these down below. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.